You think they're going to cancel it over Golf Digest's thing about who has the hottest girlfriend on tour?
What?
That? Yeah.
That's bad.
It's just such an unnecessary question.
Who do they vote for number one?
It's so unnecessary. Here
Please
goes.
tell me you
Who's
were
number
recording.
one?
Party boys, in our notes, Tony said we're flying by the seat of our pants this week, and I think that is the best way to fly because we're taking your Twitter responses and we're putting it out there. We're going to talk about the worst golf purchase you've ever made. We're also going to take a look at John Barba's article about Wilson from this week and then talk some tour shakeups. You guys ready?
Let's get it.
Let's get it.
No Putts Given is powered by MyGolfSpy, the most extensive reviews in golf. Before you buy, MyGolfSpy. 9 million readers do it every year. Check us out.
Here we go. Here she is. This is Miss Linnea, and she is a terror right now. She will be, probably by the time anybody sees this, 12 weeks old. So she'll be 12 weeks old tomorrow as we're recording this.
How much does she weigh? Because she looks huge for 12 weeks.
She's about 25 pounds now.
Oh.
So she's getting big fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just about every week I'll have Linny or Ryder or both with us. Ryder, here he comes. Come here, buddy. There we go. There's Doberman number 2, or the original, I guess.
Alrighty, we've got Adam, Harry, and Tony with us this week. I'm Miranda, and guys, right off the bat, I think this one's going to be fun. We put a question out on Twitter about the worst golf purchase anyone has ever made. So we'll start right here in the room. What do you think? Harry, what's the worst golf purchase you've ever made?
Me personally?
Yeah. That's you, right? You're you?
Taking MyGolfSpy's position as soft goods.
You stole my answer.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever had a dumb purchase, apart from I did purchase one thing, which was the Euro wedge, where you
What's
pee
that?
into...
Oh, the Euro Club.
The Euro Club, that was it.
You did. Wait, what?
So if you're... if you get caught on and you need to go for a pee, and there's no woods around, you literally just pull out this club from your bag and pee in the end of it.
Oh, so it's not a club that you use.
I hope not.
It's a way to hide your wanker so no one can see it while you pee.
Exactly.
Bingo.
It's got a little curtain and everything.
Which is interesting to me because you're on a golf course mostly and like you have a lot of trees,
Yeah.
a lot of woods. Why do you need a club? And then what do you do with it after you're done?
You dump it somewhere in the hole that you just double bogeyed.
Did you ever use it?
I have not, no.
Okay. Adam, how about you? Worst purchase?
Well, instead of doing my worst purchase, I figured I would cover some of the great answers that people gave to the question
Okay.
of the worst purchase ever, which I thought some of them were hilarious.
Yeah.
So we'll go down the list and see down memory lane for everybody and see if any of these bring up any memories for you. So the first one, which I know is going to hit Tony in a personal spot, and that's he loves 64-degree wedges, but this was the 72-degree bomb tech wedge. Oh God. Oh, Tony, what do you think about that?
Like there was, I think, was it Phil that made one too? Like this, like super. It's basically just a spatula. Like I don't know. That's sort of like I give up. I can't hit it in the air club. Let me just try this. I don't know.
I just don't know who the hell would have bought a 72 wedge, but the bomb tech on top of that, like you got to pull the pin on the bomb tech driver. I mean, then they came out with a 72-degree wedge.
I would flinch every time I hit it just in case it did hit me in the shins
Or the face.
or the face, yeah.
Yeah. So then the next one was the hammer driver because everyone's acts like they didn't actually buy that, but a lot of people bought that driver. Pow.
The infomercial was very convincing. I mean, the dude was hitting balls over mountains, man.
It was an infomercial?
Yes, it was an infomercial of a driver.
It was hollow.
Yeah, it's just a face basically.
Just the face.
You got to question anything on infomercials.
It's like the Uncle Rico of golf.
That came from long.drivers on Instagram. The next one was the OptiShot, which was definitely, and he's right, the worst simulator in the market by far.
Oh, but it was like so early into the game. I don't know what your expectations were, man. It's like I don't know.
The next one we can all blame Hank Haney for. Soft spiked golf sandals. Thank you, Hank.
I'm getting a visual.
It came from T Nestor 77. Harry, I think, started MyGolfSpy. He came in with some Crocs with some spikes on them, or
Did you?
spikeless Crocs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were in the test before I came here, and I was like, why are they here?
Don't talk shit about Crocs, man. Yeah, maybe they're not right for the golf course.
I
But
think we have some that I can send to you, and then I want to see a picture of
Are
them.
you a Crocs
playing with them.
loyalist, Tony?
so I have a big patio and I got to go downstairs at all hours of the day and night with the dog. So
Oh, it's a tough life.
I have a patio.
So just something that you can throw on your feet and go. Like, I don't, if I'm being brutally honest, like I don't wear them out places for the most part, but for knocking around the house. My wife just got a pair of like insulated Crocs, like lined Crocs without
He
the holes
secretly
in them.
likes these. His
Yeah,
face is
listen to
really
it.
Yeah, no,
happy.
it's for what it is. It's a great little product. Don't diss Crocs. Like, don't wear them out to a nice restaurant either. But I mean,
or play golf in them. But anyway,
yeah.
the next one is something that Harry, it's before his time, but the Callaway C4 driver, which possibly might be one of the worst drivers ever created.
Was that the non-conforming one?
No, that was the ERC. C4 was their first carbon fiber.
Oh, that was the sound issue, right?
Yeah, it was terrible. Mm-hmm. The next one is any Warrior golf club that was ever sold.
Money back guarantee. I mean,
That is true.
Yeah, I guess they didn't make any money and lost it on shipping.
And this is my favorite one. It was called the range holder. And if you can imagine a little carry case that allowed you to carry 5 clubs, and it said the range holder for ranges that don't let you take your bag onto the range. Yes.
what ranges are those?
Yes, this is a thing, and upheld at several ranges near me. I used it once, and I swear I could hear people laughing from every damn bay for 2 floors. Oh, Nike golf shoes. I agree with this guy. Nike golf shoes suck for the most part. I don't know who designed most of them, but whoever did does not play golf. Lunar controls were good. The rest of Nike golf shoes suck.
Yeah, like it was like the early ones were bad. The Lunar stuff was pretty good, and then once you get kind of into the hey, we're gonna make sneakers into golf shoes, that's again where you kind of go.
I feel like I'm on a basketball court, but I'm supposed to be on a golf course. And
I mean, I feel like you guys are answering the questions that the person who's the expert in this industry
I'm sorry,
doesn't have any opinion.
I'm
at
sorry.
all.
Tony and I aren't experts in this industry. What would you say about the?
No,
Nike
I don't agree.
golf shoes?
Everything you just
you
said.
agree. You agree. And then the Pure Spin Diamond face coated driver and wedge, which I loved.
Is that made with real diamonds?
It was, and I think it still to this day is one of my favorite wedges of all time.
To each his own, I guess. Can I tell you like the 2 dumb things I did?
Yeah.
I mean, in some respect, I was fortunate because I tripped and fell into the golf industry pretty early, so I wasn't buying a lot of stuff. But my first year or 2 playing, I went out and it was heavy research product, right? What is everything I need to play this game? So I bought clubs and a bag and balls and shoes and all this stuff. Then I bought iron head covers, which, mock away. I didn't keep them on very long, but that's not even the worst of it.
My dad has the same things.
So I realized I needed ball marker, right? You got to mark your ball. I need ball markers. So I bought, I think it was 1,000 logo overrun golf ball markers.
The one with the plastic and the little spike in there.
Yeah, but like they're all overrun. So there's like I've got them in like it's a whole bag of different logo ball markers. I bought 1,000 of them. I would estimate I have something like 994 of them left. So
I think we just found the title of this episode, and that is Tony Covey, the editor of MyGolfSpy, uses iron covers.
Yeah.
I
And plastic vents.
do not use iron covers. I at one point purchased iron covers.
He tried them out.
Yeah, you need to put them in hot water and then put them on your clubs straight away so they mold to your clubs. Dead serious. That's how they're supposed to work.
Suddenly,
My dad did
I'm
it.
not the worst guy in this conversation.
My dad did it. I looked at it. I was like, "What are you doing?" He said, "That's how you get them on there so they don't fall off."
So like mouth guards, huh? You just got to heat them up and mold them.
That's what I was going to say. Or like when you get new soccer cleats, you wear them in the shower. In the same vein, what's the wackiest thing you've ever seen someone else doing on a golf course?
Oh, dude.
Kind of, like those videos that you'll see of people misusing the gym equipment. Same thing on the golf course. Have you ever seen that?
I've seen some wacky swings.
Yeah, a lot of it is just weird swings. I mean,
Yeah.
they're apparently guys who pee in the end of their clubs.
I've seen
so
people
that's-
drive up onto the putting green with a golf cart before.
I've
Yeah.
seen that.
See, when I first started covering golf, I was petrified because I didn't understand the rules of the course very well. I got like,
Nobody does.
a very cool, but that's what I had to realize. So I was running around with a camera trying to film all these guys golfing, and I was always petrified to like drive across a fairway or go anywhere off the cart path. And I'd see people buzzing around. I'm like, I can't do that. I would stop like every time they were taking a shot because I was afraid of making too much noise. So I was like sneaking around in a golf cart as slow as I possibly could.
Well, if you look at just on Instagram and just look at funny swings, there's hundreds of thousands of swings where you're just looking at like, how does that even get to that position and then actually make contact? I mean, Tony's a great example of that. Of just seeing that golf swing. And the faces you pull with it as well. The face that Adam screenshotted is the most beautiful picture I've ever seen.
It's
I
angry.
don't even know what you're talking about, but that's not unusual. No, I think the funniest thing I've ever seen. I play with this guy, and I play with him quite a bit. But we were in a match play championship, and we weren't playing each other, but we were out in the same group. And on the second tee box, I looked down, and I was like, "Chris, buddy, you know you're wearing two different shoes, right?" he looked down, and he's like, "What the?" So yeah, apparently he just grabbed one of each out of his truck, not paying attention, and I've never let him forget it every time I see him. So I'm like, hey, nice job. I see you wearing the same shoes today. Good job. I thought it was like maybe one of those like NFL kicker things where you've got like a plant shoe and a kick shoe.
I often see the same guy walk into a restaurant with like his spikes still on. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know that guy.
Yeah, he's a weird dude. I guess just goes in a taste all the time with shoes on, with spikes, getting ready to play golf. It's just weird.
Always ready to play around. Never plays, but he's always ready.
Adam Beach.
Okay, guys, moving on. We love talking about when John Barba writes a story for the website, and this week he was talking about the rise, the fall, and the subsequent potential re-rise of Wilson Golf. Tony, can you give us a little bit of a breakdown for those that haven't had a chance to read Barba's article yet?
Yeah, so I guess the article was about kind of Wilson Golf as a company in 2020. And it was really framed as a follow-up to a series he wrote, I want to say like in 2015 or so. So quite a while ago, kind of a three-part article of the rise and fall of Wilson and where they were at that time as they try and kind of make their way back to relevance. And so this week's article was kind of a fresh look at Wilson, where they are today, and kind of talked about kind of some of the highs and lows and some of the changes they've made to the business, some of the initiatives like driver versus driver, the success of that, and some of the, arguably some of the pitfalls that came with it as well. So I would characterize it as just a kind of an overview of where Wilson stands today relative to where it was both historically and, just a handful of years ago.
Question to anyone here, where does Wilson stand today?
I think better than they used to.
Well, it depends on what you mean by used to. I mean, back in the day,
Right.
no. But 10
Well,
years
back
ago,
before
5 years
when I
ago,
was- yeah.
when Tony and I first got into MyGolfSpy 10 years ago, they were in real disarray. They didn't know who they were.
And how did that become?
The first story that Barba told, I mean, honestly, what I would say is that series that Barba wrote, I would advise any kind of golf historical, golf gearhead to go read them. They're really good stories, and they tell exactly how it happened. It was a longer process to get to when Tony and I first started. That slide happened a little bit slower, and it just got into a weird space where they were selling box sets and, in Walmarts or wherever. They had become basically a box set company.
Largely, yeah. I mean, that was kind of the meat of their business. I mean, if you kind of look, it's one of those things where if you try and pinpoint where it went wrong, it's a similar story to almost any time a brand goes wrong that has like a legacy. It's just kind of I would characterize it as a failure to adapt, right? So the golf business changed, the golf marketplace changed. You had TaylorMade and Callaway who were innovating rapidly and making a lot of noise at the same time, and signing tour pros to contracts and things like that to really sort of bolster those brands. And Wilson, sort of for better or worse, was business as usual, and it just, at some point they didn't just get passed, but they got kind of obliterated in the marketplace.
Well, and Wilson's a little bit unique too. So you have to remember, they're not just golf, they're tennis, they're football, they're this,
Baseball,
they're that.
yeah.
So as a company, if you got to prioritize things and golf isn't really moving the needle for you, you're not going to invest as much money as making footballs or whatever it is that's making dollars for you, right? And I think Wilson has decided to invest, more into golf, and they've got new ownership now. And to be honest with you, one of the more interesting things is it's crazy to think that this is part of the success of a company now, like such a large part of the perceptual success, but their social media over the last couple of years
massively improved.
Yeah, and they had probably the second best social media guy in the game at the time, and that was Corey Holloway.
Yeah.
And the only person he was behind was the OG, and that was,
hashtag Chad Coleman
from Callaway, right? And both of those people made those companies, for a large portion of what they became, what they were, And yeah, it takes the people behind the scenes making all the stuff, but if visually you're not presenting what you're doing behind the scenes out in front of people, then people...
They're not going to give a shit.
Yeah, and Corey did a great job, and he's no longer there anymore. He just left. So I'd be interested to see, one, what happens with that whole space and Wilson, but also look at Callaway. They lost hashtag Chad, and I don't know who the hell is running Callaway social media now, but you can definitely tell major drop-off.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing when you think about it, right? Before the rise of social media and everything that it's become, once upon a time, your customer service representative was really the front line for your company. That, with the rise of social media, the front line has become the guy running the Twitter account or the Facebook account, the Instagram account. And if you don't have somebody in that position who, I think, one, knows how to represent your brand, understands the identity of the brand inside and out, but also maintains their humanity and comes across as an actual person, then you're going to have difficulty succeeding. And I think you mentioned Corey, right? Kind of, even if you didn't know that it was his face necessarily, you didn't know the name Corey Holloway, he created a consistent message for Wilson, and he was the guy that was out there working directly with golfers. Same thing with Chad, arguably to a larger degree with Callaway. And you've seen both of those guys have disappeared. And, Callaway, I think, is struggling a little bit. And I think Wilson, for everything they've achieved, and we'll talk more about the successes here in a minute, I think there's a risk of a drop-off there just because Corey was so good at what he did.
I think it's understated how tough some of those social media positions can be. No matter what brand you worked for, I did it briefly, like here and there for the Patriots. I would take over on away games because I was there, I was covering it. And the amount of pressure that comes with getting just a post right. I think I did mostly Snapchat, and which you wouldn't think would be that popular, but good gracious, I mean, you're checking everything, and then your head is on the line.
I'll be honest,
if you do anything wrong.
Like, I almost don't want to hire a social media person. Not that we don't need one, but watch your mouth, Tony. Because I almost feel bad to hire someone for social media. It's a round-the-clock job. People don't understand. There is no off.
Absolutely.
I mean, if something happens with the business or something happens in the industry, you're expected to be on the, punch the clock 24/7, right? There are no weekends off. There are no days off. There are no hours off.
And they're front line, too.
Yeah, so not only do they have to be on all the time, but they have to get it right
exactly
all the time. And as we can see from things that have even happened in the media today, somebody posted something on or retweeted something on social media today, and they're losing sponsorships because of that. So you gotta be on all the time and get it right all the time. That's a tough job,
especially when you represent big brands that have a lot of traction.
The burnout rate's got to be huge for that. I mean,
yeah.
Well, those. I mean, Chad's not in the golf industry anymore, technically.
No, but he's still doing social media.
He is, but he's not in that golf media space.
Not really. I mean, it's he might be doing a little bit, but he's mostly kind of a strategy and relationships kind of guy now. So,
all right. Well, let's back to
Wilson.
Back to Wilson and the positives and negatives, right?
Adam, you briefly touched on the Wilson box sets. They've moved away from that. Is that something that is a positive in their comeback or attempt at a comeback?
Yeah, I think it's one of many things that Wilson is doing in a positive way to try to get back and not only be taken serious in the golf industry, but look towards their roadmap of the future, right? So perception is reality to a lot of people. And if people perceive you to be a box set company, which means they can walk into Kmart or Walmart and buy a whole set of Wilsons that you're selling junk, then guess what? Anything else that has the name Wilson on it, to some of those people, you're going to be looked at as the junk seller, right? So that made up, I think, $10 million annually of their business.
They're taking a cut to not do that, but you're trading money for credibility.
Correct. So that's hard to drop off the table, right? Hey, 10 million, we got to give that up. But what you lost down the road is worth way more than 10 million in credibility, like Tony said. So the other thing they did was they did the driver versus driver show and the driver versus driver 2 show. Now there's some positive and negative there. There's no one that's going to say that did not have more people talking about Wilson than ever before.
Yeah.
No one gave a damn about
Even
Wilson.
if it was good or bad, they were still talking about Wilson.
Well, it was really strong play for brand awareness. And in fact, I've talked to people who are with small and mid-sized brands, and they've even said they're like, I kind of wish we had thought of that. So, certainly there's value in there.
It was a modern day infomercial that lasted for a very long time and was authentic. There was some authenticity to it. But what ultimately resulted from it was a lot of coverage and then a driver that, once again, really tarnished their brand, the Triton. It was deemed non-conforming the day of release, which just was a dagger to them. And then the second year, which was the year that we were on the show, once again, a lot of coverage, a lot of talk about Wilson. They came out with a really good-looking driver, the Cortex.
It was really good.
But
good looking.
It didn't perform. And they took a lot from other companies to create that driver. It really wasn't something unique to Wilson. They robbed a little bit here, from there, and then they built
was it Wilson or was it the designer that was on the show?
I think
you can't separate the two. I mean, right?
You don't.
Somebody, I think, at Wilson maybe should have stepped up and goes, yeah, you know what? This is from a functionality standpoint, kind of a more robust offering than we've had in the past. And I mean, the industrial design team that worked on that did a fantastic job of making it look really good. But at the end of the day, what you had was a driver that, just looking at it, right, you immediately think, hey, this is tailor-made technology to a degree, right? It looked like a tailor-made. So you essentially spent the duration of this driver versus driver 2 to create a product that ultimately looked like one of the leading models on the market. And then from a performance standpoint, what we saw as a driver that just didn't hold up against the leaders in the marketplace. And
it was $499.
$500 price tag. And granted, they did put a better stock shaft in it than you typically get in the marketplace. So credit there, but
it was basically 2 steps forward, 3 steps back a little bit for them, right?
Yeah, I think the thing you have to look at and consider is, it wasn't that many months, 6-8 months down the road where this thing was just massively discounted. And when you're in a situation where you're trying to compete with the leaders, you're coming out with a $500 driver, just like Callaway and TaylorMade had at the time, but X a number, just a handful of months later, really 6-8 months later, you're discounted steeply, and those guys are still holding their price point. Like, as a golfer, as a guy who's got to go out and spend money, I'm going to think really hard about buying Wilson again, because you don't want to see your product devalued. You don't want to feel like your purchase has been devalued.
Where I feel like Wilson is missing is I don't feel like they truly know their objective. Like, what is your objective, right? If your objective is to be taken seriously, then you come out with a $499 driver, right?
But that driver better
But then
perform.
you don't drop it down, and then you look at their irons and their drivers, and I don't see a marriage of where they're going. I see like a bunch of ideas being thrown on the wall.
I know. I think that their line and they're catering towards the older generation golfer, in my opinion.
I wouldn't disagree with that, but then you look at some of their irons that look like they're catering to the Gary Woodlands, and a driver like a Cortex that's $500.
But that's like the blade, that is just one product.
Here's the problem. That's what Wilson is known for, irons, okay? Over their history of their career, they're known for making good irons, and guess what? Tony will agree with this. They still make a damn good forged iron.
Oh, yeah, the FG Tours are money.
They've performed well in our testing year after year, right? It's the other areas that I feel like they can't find a place to really truly hang their hat, and they're taking a step forward and 2 steps back, right? They get some things right with driver versus driver, and then they put out a Triton. Then they do driver versus driver 2 and come out with a Cortex that looks great, but they kind of took it from TaylorMade and it didn't perform that well.
But what company has the whole package? I could probably name two.
I'm not talking about the whole package from a product standpoint from top to bottom as much as a business principle and theory.
So it's like a
and
Mizuno
identity.
is known for their irons.
And identity.
Yeah.
I don't know Wilson's true identity.
And that's where, if
Right.
you look where, and they were still strong in the market, so I don't want to overstate this, but there was a window there where TaylorMade seemed almost lost, right? Where they weren't the number one driver in golf. And that was, their whole identity was built on that. And they've kind of course corrected and sort of found kind of a new identity, or reestablished themselves with different principles, I guess you'd say. Whereas Wilson is still kind of, it feels like hopping around trying to figure out exactly who they are in the modern market.
And I think that's because they are tennis. They are this, they are that. And some of their designers that work on golf clubs are also working on tennis rackets. Like, it's hard to dedicate yourself to just specifically golfers and know your identity when you have three other identities. It's like multiple personalities,
The upside is there are people who love the Wilson brand and are extremely
sure.
loyal to it. So, guys who remember Wilson when it was great and see it as still great. And
But
so
what does that mean? What does that mean? Like, when somebody is loyal to a brand, like, it's kind of like Ben Hogan, right? What are you loyal to anymore? A name, a signature
It's the name.
on a club?
It's the name.
It is. It's true, right? It's brands are powered by people, and people come and go, and when those people come and go, like, brands fundamentally change, the products change, and things like that. But there's a legacy and a heritage with Wilson that still to this day, if your measurement is majors one, exceeds any other in golf. So
Okay, but you can't just keep relying on that. Sooner or later, you got to have a true identity in 2020, not 1920.
And again, it's a much different marketplace than it was there. There's steeper competition and louder voices for sure. So yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
Well, Barbara alluded to this in the story. They had a change in ownership like 4 times in a very concise amount of time. I would imagine that would lead you directly to an identity crisis.
It doesn't help, I wouldn't say.
Yeah, I think, different owners have probably different objectives and allocate different resources. So even one new owner is a disruption. If it continues to happen and things like that, yeah, it's tough.
So how does Wilson get back on track? How do they find their identity? Are they already on track? They just have to keep going.
I think progress is being made, and I would guess, certainly they learned from the Triton debacle, and my guess is they've taken something away from Cortex as well. And again, the iron lineup is strong, right? So there's nothing to nitpick there, and the wedges perform solidly. Their putters are inexpensive and offer value, and so they're not really competing in a premium space there, but they have something with some appeal. The Metalwoods, this is kind of where they kind of bounce back and forth between like a D-Series / launch pad now, where it's kind of for slower swing speed or with a game improvement slant. And this is a challenge other brands struggle with too, is how do I reach the better player with my Metalwoods? And I don't have that answer, because it's just very, very difficult when you look at the domination of Callaway and TaylorMade and Ping, which kind of has a broader reach, and Titleist, which is, whether they want to have it exclusively or not, sort of has an identity as a club for a better player. So to enter that space when you haven't been there legitimately in quite some time is exceedingly difficult.
So this is what I would do, is I would get out of the driver industry for 2 years.
You can't do that.
Why not?
Because then you instantly aren't taken serious as
and that's basically that's throwing your hands up and going, we can't compete, and that's going to resonate quickly.
Well, I would disagree. I would say that if you are saying we're going to get this right and we're going to come back even better, when you come back, yes, it has to be very good, but when it comes back, you're going to sell a lot of product.
I don't think it's the driver that's keeping them from that. I don't think the golfer looks at their drivers and goes, that's what's keeping Wilson from not having an identity. It's the whole company. It's the whole everything. We see the performance of their drivers and go, this isn't up to par with the best drivers, right? But the average golfer, I don't think, walks into a store and goes, that is what I'm identifying as why I don't take Wilson serious.
They see it as a baseball or a football company.
Yeah.
Well, and that's, their whole identity is built around, we're the brand with the most majors. That's traditionally been the Wilson staff identity. And while that remains true, it's just not sort of a thing that moves the needle like it used to.
Well, let me ask you a question. When was the highest percentage of those wins acquired?
Well before my time, that's for sure.
All right, guys. Well, it sounds like we've got a lot of differing opinions, but bottom line is you should go read Barbara's series.
Yeah, I mean,
on the
look,
website.
after all that's being said, like, I think Wilson is moving in a much better direction than they have been in a very long time. I still just don't think they have an identity, and I think that does come down to the fact that they have a lot of masters to serve, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've got football, they've got tennis, they've got all these sports. Golf is just another sport.
Well, we spent an extended amount of time at their booth at the PGA show, and they seemed eager to want opinions. They want to do better.
Yeah.
I want to say some of the time they're going against what has already been put out there to try and make some noise.
Okay. I think I know what you're referring to.
Yeah. Well, they said that soft
Right.
is long or is not slow.
Well, look, that is a thing where we came up with a statement based on
what we've
facts
seen.
and physics and things like that, and they have a lineup that has nothing but soft golf balls in it. What are you gonna say? Like you can't just dump all your inventory and throw it in the trash and go, well, MyGolfSpy said soft is slow, so we're out of business for the golf ball. They got to say something.
If you're all in on soft, you can't just go, well, shit, I guess that's that. You kind of have to reframe the conversation. I think they've done a good job of it, but at the end of the day, the ball speed numbers are what they are. The correlation is what it is, and at that point, not to get too far off track, if you're going to get distance out of a soft ball, the way to do it is through reduced spin. And while that can have benefits off the driver for a guy who doesn't hit the ball particularly high to begin with and doesn't generate a lot of spin to begin with, once you get that ball on the rest of the golf course, it can be problematic. That's just reality.
Okay. Let's move on to something else. We'll table the Wilson discussion and just say go read Barbara's series. We want to talk some news this week as well. There's been some contract shakeups on tour, but probably most notably, Justin Rose was snapped with TaylorMade irons in his bag instead of Honma.
Jonathan Wall at golf.com, I think, probably broke that story. He tends to break a lot of the tour equipment stories. So that's kind of it. I believe he had a TaylorMade driver in play last week, and then this week at Bay Hill has TaylorMade irons in the bag as well. And I think he's been under contract with Honma just over a year, so this is certainly something is up.
Well, and within that year, he went number one, right, while he was playing.
He was early in the year, so kind of
Okay.
during that transition, and I think he won very early on with him, but he's since fallen, number 13 in the world now. Mm-hmm. So there may be concern there. There may be something else going on, like who knows.
But wait, wasn't he with TaylorMade before he went to Honma?
He was a TaylorMade guy.
So it's kind of like going to a girlfriend,
I knew this.
Getting
was what
back
he was
with your
gonna
ex.
say.
all right, and then saying, actually, yeah, you're not all I thought you were. You were excited at first, but now you're not. I'm gonna go back to my ex.
Market conditions being what they are, it's unlikely, as Rick Young kind of hinted at, that TaylorMade will welcome him back with a paycheck of any kind.
Tell me about like the money that Honma paid for him to go to Honma. Like,
Yeah,
did he get any of that back? Does he feel bad that he spent 30 million or whatever it was?
I mean, who knows? And I'm guessing that's going to get, there'll be these type of contracts when they go south in the middle tend to be, both parties mutually agreeing to part ways and nobody really understanding the whole story. So, who knows?
I mean, he can send some money to me if he likes. I mean, we're both English.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what it is, right? Maybe it's equipment related. Maybe it's a personal thing. Like, honestly, who knows? We know that on the Monday after Bay Hill, Honma and maybe Justin Rose too are going to put out a statement kind of clarifying the relationship. And my expectation is the clarification will be that the relationship is over and that both parties wish each other well. And, we may not know for a while, if ever, what actually happened.
Why is that a big deal, though? I would imagine tour guys probably change up their bag all the time if they're playing a certain way or feeling this or that. Is it unusual for something like this to happen?
I think what's unusual is the fact that Honma and Justin Rose, when Honma was, trying to take on North America, right? They hitched their wagon to Justin Rose, really as their numero uno, the guy. And for the guy to leave the company after a very short period of time for being the guy, that's a red flag that pops up to at least the people out there that were thinking, hey, are we going to take Honma serious as a golf company, a golf club company? Oh, Justin Rose, they got it. That's why they pay the Justin Roses, right? So that golfers look and go, I'm going to take that brand serious. So now our golfers going, I don't know if I'm going to take them serious if their guy left that early.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, but he wasn't a guy, he was the guy, Honma's only guy. And so if it does turn out that they're parting ways and he doesn't have Honma in the bag anymore, it's going to be kind of interesting to see where the company goes from here as it tries to ramp up North American operations, right? It's opening fitting centers and things like that, and maintain kind of that credibility that to some degree you have through having elite professionals play your stuff.
Yeah, and if I'm looking around going, should I take Honma serious? Justin Rose leaves, their driver's okay, their irons are okay. I mean, you really got, in this industry, there's 4 or 5 big companies, right? Mm-hmm. If you want to play in that sandbox, you got to come out with something pretty damn stellar. I mean, right. PXG right? Like you got to slap people across the face.
Well, it's an interesting kind of risk when you think about it, right? Signing somebody like Justin Rose, who, at the time was in the top handful of players and early in the year, last year was number 1, that gives you instant credibility. But in a situation like this, and again, we won't know until Monday how this is going to be framed, but if the one guy who gives you credibility at that level leaves, what do you have left, right? Now all of a sudden, it's sort of a net loss because you were, hey, this is a brand I've never heard of, I don't know. Hey, Justin Rose is playing this stuff, it must be pretty good. Oh, Justin Rose isn't playing anymore, it must be terrible, right? And that's, there's generally always something else that goes on behind the scenes, and that line of thinking doesn't always match reality. But I mean, perception, like you said, perception is often taken as reality, and I think that's ultimately how something like this will be perceived every time.
Well, it's perceived in my eyes that, hey, they offered this much amount of money, I'll be stupid not to, and then see how it goes from there. And if I don't like it, I'll get out.
Well, and you keep in mind too, this was his Honma deal, and again, the Honma guys, a lot of them, I mean, Mark King isn't there anymore, but John Kawaja is, essentially running the show. He was a longtime TaylorMade guy. There's a couple other longtime TaylorMade guys there, so there was a connection to begin with. And the other part of that, though, is that TaylorMade cut back tour spend in a big way. So it's possible they weren't willing to pay Justin Rose at the time what Honma was, and so it made sense for him to move on, especially if the company was willing to tailor the irons to him and allow him to sort of work his way into the metalwoods and the other stuff. It's a 10-club deal from what I understand. So he had some wiggle room. So the driver coming out of the bag, obviously if you're Honma, you don't love that, but you can kind of stomach it. But when the irons come out of the bag, something's up.
I mean, I know this happens in every sport across the board, but it is just crazy to me that you could have a preference in driver or iron or something, and because you have signed a contract with somebody and you might be a better player with a different club, you're then contractually obligated to use a certain club. Well, I know it's money, but it just
money.
Well, look at Brooks Koepka. He's the guy that is a perfect example.
Well, let's put this in perspective, though. Yeah, Brooks Koepka is the guy that people think about that goes agnostic and plays whatever he wants. But I think Brooks Koepka was also a guy that I heard about shopping around a big number to all the brands too to get paid by somebody to play one single brand. So for the guy out there that's Mr. Brand Agnostic, he would also have been Mr. Whatever brand would have paid him the most.
And that's just the real world scenario. I mean, he put out like $50 million. If someone gives me $50 million to do it, hell yeah, you'd be stupid not to. I don't think it's going to hurt his game that much just because he's that good. So when it comes to it, I think right now he's very happy with what he's doing, and the brands he's playing in there.
Well, and that's kind of the perfect storm situation where you had a guy, Koepka, perfect example, who's whose value just kind of shot up exponentially as he kind of went on a tear, winning majors, and is always competitive in a major, it seems like, over the last couple of years. So he's getting not only TV time, but he's getting TV time during those rare windows when people are actually watching golf on TV. So he is a massive opportunity, but at the same time that his kind of star rose, the market kind of fell out on tour contracts with the collapse of Nike and TaylorMade cutting back on spending. So brands just aren't spending like they used to. Those I almost refer to them as drunken Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods type Nike deals, and even to an extent those TaylorMade deals. And Brooks is neither Tiger nor Rory from a draw perspective. So
I think he's earned, wherever he goes from, I think he's earned the respect to actually do that and sell out for that much money.
Well, at the end of the day, it's what the market's willing to pay, right? I mean, that's like if you want to sell your car, it's worth what it's worth, right?
5 years ago, Brooks would be sitting on a massive contract. Now those massive contracts just don't exist anymore unless you're Tiger, unless you're Ricky Fowler, and maybe Rory McIlroy.
Part of the reason they don't exist is because when you talk to the golf companies that have paid those huge large sums of money to these golfers, they don't really know if it was worth it or not.
Well, yeah.
There's no real way to quantify. No. I pay this guy $100 million. Here's what it actually ROI meant for me at the other end. So right now there was a big adjustment when the Nike thing happened and the TaylorMade thing happened. Everybody kind of pulled back and went, you know what? Like, we need to really take a look at how much we're spending and what we're actually making from it.
Well, and I think there's kind of a fundamental shift at play too, right? When Nike launched, Tiger gave them instant credibility, and Rory added to the credibility, and their whole philosophy was, we want guys who win majors, right? That was kind of the definition of a Nike athlete, and not every one of them won majors, but that was kind of their objective, was to find guys they thought could win majors. I mean, even Lucas Glover won a major as a Nike athlete. So there's some things like that. For most of the rest of the industry now, it's about having just enough guys to give you credibility and high profile guys that give you credibility. But does the perception of TaylorMade increase any if they sign Brooks Koepka? They already have Tiger and Rory. Like, where do you go from there, right? Callaway, you could argue, maybe doesn't have the same caliber of tour staff, but they rack up wins and they have big name players and everybody knows the name.
At the end of the day, let's say it's your money you're spending, right? And you're paying the guy $5,000. You're hoping he makes you more than that back, right? Mm-hmm. So I remember being in retail when Tiger was on tour with Nike. People were calling not for Nike clubs. They were calling for Scotty Cameron putters. And that's it. But that guy was moving the needle with Scotty Cameron putters. So nowadays, who's calling going, hey, I want those irons, whatever golfer is playing. There's not a huge... Tiger is the needle, and there's not many other people moving the needle to the point where you can go, hey, I'm willing to pay you $5,000 because I know that's going to make me $6,000. There's not really many people out there on tour that are doing that.
I've said it before. I'll probably say it 100 more times, but it's Tiger, it's Ricky Fowler, and then it's everybody else. And maybe you can put Rory a little bit ahead of the everybody else, but that's pretty much the pecking order. And no matter how many majors Brooks wins, or maybe there is a point where he wins enough majors where he is not part of that everybody else. But right now, if you went out and you talked to guys that sort of work in tour player operations and assign value to professional golfers, is there value to be had signing somebody like Brooks at his asking price? I think to a man they'd tell you no. So free agency, that's part of it.
So he became a free agent.
There you go.
Well, we won't know until Monday whether the Justin Rose and Honma thing is a mutual agreement or if he's just going rogue or what's happening. It's definitely
a mutual agreement. It's always everybody always mutually agrees to part ways. You're not going to be, yeah, that guy's a dick, so we ditched him. You're not going to.
Wouldn't that be awesome if you had to tell the truth?
This will go down that route.
But we do know that PXG officially mutually ended their relationships with Billy Horschel and Chez Reavie. So what are our thoughts about that just right off the bat?
That one is a lot easier to explain, which is kind of a nice thing to be able to do in a situation like this.
Okay, go for it.
So obviously, anytime something like this happens, all of Twitter goes nuts and goes, that it's the equipment, it's garbage, and these guys are finally smartening up to that. Well, Ches Reavie's been with PXG all of 2 months, and his world rank hasn't changed at all from the beginning of the year. Billy Horschel has been playing about to his career average, if you look at rank somewhere in the mid-30s. What actually happened here was that PXG and Matt Rollins, I forget his title. I think you probably have his official title, Miranda, in front of you.
PXG's Director of Tournament Player Relations.
There you go. So Matt was basically the guy in the van, for lack of more clarity, and he was instrumental in bringing a lot of these guys over to PXG, especially in the early days. Matt worked with PXG, Billy Horschel, going all the way back to when Billy was with Ping. So there's a long established relationship. These guys trust Matt, and when Matt and PXG parted ways, we don't have the details on that. I'll just assume it was also a mutual agreement. A couple of Matt's guys went with him, and I think that's understandable if you kind of look at what happens with tour players and where their critical relationships are. I think the caddy, obviously, the player-caddy relationship is probably number one, and then number two on that is probably the player and the guys in the tour van. So if the brand you rep takes your tour van guy away and you're loyal, it kind of makes sense that you would also leave. So as of right now, Billy Horschel has confirmed that he is not with PXG, but still playing the equipment, which isn't unusual. We're heading into the meaty part of the golf season right now, and it would be borderline reckless to make a change right now, Justin Rose situation notwithstanding. So I wouldn't expect any big changes there, but yeah, this seems to be, if nothing else, just a reminder that as much as we talk about golf equipment and it being the driving force in what guys decide to do on tour, the reality here is that this is just a reminder that people matter.
Well, why does following a guy who builds clubs, and yes, he'll be an awesome guy and that kind of stuff, but if you're playing fine with the brand that you're at,
why leave?
Because yes, everyone, those guys are all equally as good at making clubs and make it to your specs, that kind of stuff.
I think what Tony just said at the very end is what the reasoning is. Like, at the end of the day, for some people matter, right? And
so is there some speculation that Matt Rollins had an issue with PXG? So
no. What Tony's referring to is the fact that Billy Horschel and Ches Reavie, their buddy was Matt Rollins, and when Matt Rollins went, that dude mattered to them, so they went.
So it's a bit like being in a football team and your manager goes and the manager likes you, or you like him, vice versa, and you follow where he goes.
It's like in anything in life.
Yeah, and as I said, Billy's still playing the PXG for now. That could change, but I think this is, if anything else, kind of a statement of loyalty and saying, look, it's my relationship with this brand was every bit as much about my relationship with the guys in the van as it was with the clubs. And so, hey, when your guy on the inside goes, and again, in Billy's case in particular, this is not this relationship precedes PXG. Billy and Matt worked together when Matt worked for Ping and Billy.
I understand the question from Harry though. Like, if you're talking, let's say $10 million, and your buddy goes, "Hey man, like I know we work together, but I'm out of here." And you go, screw that $10 million, man. I'm going with you for no million.
Right.
I get the questioning.
I think Billy's probably at the level where, one, he's collecting enough week to week, right? He's making cuts, he's collecting paychecks that he doesn't necessarily need the sponsorship dollars. That's not to say he doesn't want them, but he's not going to go broke because of this by any stretch. And the other thing is, look, if there will come a time where somebody's going to offer him another deal, he could go back to Ping. Who knows? Maybe he'll replace Justin Rose as Honma's guy. There's all kinds of options here. So I think this is just one of these things where it was like, and this is pure speculation, but my thought process is that for those guys, like Matt was their guy, period. And as soon as that ceased to be the case, that was, the relationship was not what they needed it to be anymore, I guess is probably the best way I can put it.
Yeah, I guess the circle of trust gets smaller and smaller at that level, right? When you get up to the PGA Tour level.
Yeah, because there's only a handful amount of guys that
the circle of people that you trust around you, your team or your people, right? They all kind of have a team. And if that was really a part of your team from the beginning, you go with your team.
And that's, I mean, and Matt
Yeah,
is
I could see it.
almost universally, as far as I can tell, I've only, one person passing comment that didn't love him. But, for the most part, most everybody will tell you that Matt is just a great guy. And he's the kind of guy you want to be around and you want to work with. And so, if he's your guy and your guy's not there anymore, maybe you don't want to be there anymore either.
Harry, you leave, I'm following you, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, you fired me last week, so
I followed you out, though. We
You
came
did
back.
follow me out.
That
Yeah.
is true. So, all right, guys. Anything else we want to talk about today?
I got my first pro event on Saturday.
Hey.
This weekend?
Yeah.
Sweet.
It's gonna be
Talk
cold.
about that. Where are we at?
It's called Royal New Kent. It's like I'm just using it as a warm up to go to the G Pro tournaments and the Swing Thought tournaments.
What does this one run through?
Just a 1 day.
Is it a Swing Thought tour?
No, it's just a local pro tour around.
It's the first time you're officially called a pro.
Apart from signing it on that piece of paper, that's apparently how you turn pro. I thought it was a lot more of a process.
You
because
wanted to
obviously
party and
the PGA's teaching side, yeah, you have to do a lot more.
We can
but-
make a bigger deal about it.
yeah,
We can
just
do like I used to do with high school athletes when I worked in Alabama. They'd have their signing days for whatever college they were going to. We can give you a signing day if you want.
yeah, too late. I've already signed.
Oh,
Apparently.
you already signed it?
Oh no, I've already ticked the box that says I'm a pro or an
Yeah.
amateur on the.
No
Was the
going back,
website
man.
digital?
It is, yeah. So that works.
Less fun though.
So yeah, it'll be fun. I mean, it's gonna be cold, but I'm just trying to get as many reps out there as possible and just see how it goes. And
So you're saying it's a process and you're getting in your reps?
that's what pros say these days, right?
Harry always says that, and then he ends up doing really well. He tries
That's
to
that's the
understate it.
Tiger line. It's a process, just putting in reps.
Well, Tony, I will give a shout out. I have not changed my equipment, but I have changed my equipment in a way. So
Please
I will be
explain.
making an announcement to my 2 fans on social media.
No, actually, I think you need to do a what's in the bag. Like, I'm not a big fan of those, but your change you made. It's a cool setup.
Yeah. Oh, do you want me to announce it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
All right.
Now
Well,
I'm
you're
curious.
particular too. In fact, I was going to ask you.
This is maybe the only thing you've ever said that I'll care about. So
That's true.
Wow.
Okay, well, whoa.
That is
I mean,
ruthless.
I get this every week from
Jesus.
Tony.
I felt the ice through the
Yeah.
Skype and that's jeez.
All right, so
Let's start with the driver. What do you got?
I got a TaylorMade Sim.
That's a change, right?
That's a change from
Okay.
the G400 LST.
Ooh.
TaylorMade Sim. Which model?
Just the regular Sim.
Okay. What
Yeah.
shaft?
The sliding weight Cortex looking one.
Yeah. I have gone to the Motor X.
Motori X.
Motora X.
F1, I presume.
Motori. Yep. It's the 70 gram X. 70 gram X. It's shorter. I mean, you hit it too. It's one of those ones that is shorter than my driver that I was using in the G400.
Yeah, it looks like 44 3/4 maybe.
It's 44 and a half, I believe.
Okay.
I measured it out as, and it's. I can go after it, and it's just a baby fade.
Somebody just miscut the shaft, and you're like, "Fine, this works. I don't care."
Probably it could have been you, Tony.
All right, so we got a driver for TaylorMade Sim. What are you playing for woods for your other woods?
TaylorMade M5 with black fences, 90 gram.
You got rid of the rocket balls.
I got rid of the rocket balls. It
Are
was
you on the
time.
payroll? Jesus.
Hold on.
Yeah, I might be.
5 wood,
No 5 wood,
Okay.
2 iron.
2 iron. What are you playing for the 2 iron? Strixon.
U85.
The Zubs.
The Zubs. It's I can't find a better one out there with the Fujikura Pro Series 95 gram in there.
Okay. The cool thing was first tell what model of irons you're playing.
Well, the irons in general, I'm playing Z 585s and 785s.
Okay, you got a combo set of
Combo
Strixons.
sets, yeah.
But what did you just change? The shaft change out was cool.
Yeah, so I changed the shafts out from steel to graphite, and from
Put in
Fujikura.
Fuji's, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Fujikura Pro Series
25.
115s, right?
115 or 117s,
Yeah.
but
Maybe
the
115s.
steel fiber tips. I'm playing them straight in. I'm not tipping them or anything like that. It's just straight in, and well, holy shit.
We
It's-
tested them out the other day, man.
And I'm hitting the same ball flight every single time, same spin rate every time.
Feels better.
It's
I'm
lighter.
telling- Graphite
unbelievable.
iron shafts are the future. It's just I feel like that future is way down the road because golfers are stubborn.
Yeah,
Well-
but then I went back to my, because I put it in my 7 iron to see if I liked it first. And then I went back to my 130 X100s, and I'm like, why did I ever do this? Because it was so heavy, and I felt like I couldn't control it after I was been swinging these. So I'm really happy with the change that I've
And
gone
you're
into.
flighting these balls probably better.
Yep, and I might put that out. I've pured the shafts or flowed the shafts.
Yep.
To get the spine angle.
Oh boy, Fuji's
correct.
going to yell at you for that. They don't believe in it.
I know, but I put them in. I can feel a difference, and that's me personally. I can feel. I can
Convince
feel
yourself of anything. No, it's like I played graphite for a while and then went away from it, and I went to look at kind of getting back in, and because I played recoil 125s, not the protos I just didn't mesh well with me, but the standard 125s, and turns out they don't make them anymore. So that's, I'm still trying to find something in that 120 125 range.
Yeah,
just not there right now.
But here's another thing: is the wedges. I've got RTX 4s in there, Cleveland's, but I'm gonna get a new set. So I'm potentially just gonna re-up the RTX 4s and buy some more of those. But I'm gonna put the MCI 125 graphite iron wedges from Fuji again in there too. And I hit them at the show, and I was lost for words pretty much, because I could flight them down, I can hit them high, I could do whatever I needed to do, come in low, spin it up there, and I could literally just do anything. And yes, you could probably do that with an S400 or 300 or whatever it is, but I felt so much more confident with these shafts.
It's the future, man. Graphite is the future in steel shafts.
It's the future, dude.
It is. Like, I'm just...
Oh,
I love it.
I love it.
I love graphite. I love graphite.
I love it.
But
I just
yeah,
gotta find one that works.
I've been very happy with the switch. And then,
All right, so we got the driver, we got the woods, we got the irons, we got the wedges. What do we got for putter?
So this is the biggest one I've struggled with, is my putting, and I've gone to an arm lock putter, which is the PXG closer.
Jesus Christ.
Well, he had trouble with path.
I did. My path was everywhere.
This shored him up pretty quick.
So
I'll tell you, I beat him in a putting contest once. He challenged me and I won.
That's how bad I got. It's my wife beat me.
What? That is
But she's pretty good though.
sexist, man.
She is pretty good.
Yeah, hey.
And then
Wait a second. What'd you just say about
and
me?
then we played putt and I destroyed her.
Yeah, I got distracted.
So that is the really
Hey,
test.
Barba beat us at putt-putt.
Yeah, that's true. Bob is sneaky good.
Wait, I have an idea.
Okay.
So it's his first pro event. Can Matt and I go out, cameraman and reporter,
Hell yeah.
and get a post-round interview?
No.
Yes.
A one-on-one?
I got a question for you.
That should be
Yes.
exciting TV right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. Or will you be taking CBD or
Yes.
not? You will.
Oh yeah.
So you won 2 tournaments in a row with CBD, right?
Yeah, so the crazy thing, when I started CBD, is 11 out of my 12 events, or 12 rounds in competition, was under par. I have to give it some credit as well, because I felt so much more relaxed around the course, and those pressure situations where my squeaky bum time would come in, it didn't.
Yep. Exactly. CBD keeps you from having squeaky bum time. You
It
know
does.
what I'm saying?
Hey, put that as a marketing tool.
I still don't know what squeaky bum time
Squeaky
is.
bum means your asshole tightens
Yeah.
up like that when you get nervous.
Okay.
But the biggest one that most people want to know about is my ball that I'm playing.
Yes. What ball are you
So
playing?
I've changed. I limited down to Titleist, Bridgestone, and Strixon.
This is a change too, yes?
This is a change
Okay.
too. And I was playing the Titleist Pro V1X, went to the Pro V, then did a head-to-head test of ball speed, and then took them out to the greens and did that way. I was 2 miles an hour faster with the Strixon Z-Star XV, and 1 mile
Mark
an hour
Crossfield loves you right now. That's all
Yeah,
I got
he
to say.
probably
I mean,
does.
he's sitting there going,
Oh yeah,
Oh,
put some
yeah.
launches in your bag too.
We're all going to get texts from Bridgestone.
But Bridgestone, look, it's a great ball. I just couldn't spin it around the greens.
The new one?
The new one, I cannot do it. I don't know why. The way I'm delivering it to the club every time, to the ball, sorry, I could not spin it, and it frustrated me. But the Strixon was just, I could get the ball speed off the tee and the consistent spin rates and the spin around the greens.
Well, if you're going to be between 3 balls, choose those are all.
Oh,
those
for
are
sure,
three good
yeah.
ones,
Those
so.
are all one of the best are the best balls on the market, in my opinion. So yeah,
Crossfield
that's my bag.
He's in love with you right now.
I don't even play golf anymore.
I know. All right, so Saturday. I'm excited. Now I want to get out there Saturday and watch you.
It's a long way. I wouldn't go.
It's not a long
It's
way.
not
It's like
that
45
far.
minutes.
Yeah, well.
I'll get Buff out there.
Make it a company outing.
What's the name of the golf course again? Because it sounds like it ought to be in England.
Royal New Kent. It's like
Royal
no
New
joke.
Kent.
Royal New Kent. It's no joke. It's one of the best courses I've ever played because
What?
it is one of the best courses I've ever played.
Are you kidding me?
The greens are unbelievable. The complexes.
Tony, first of all, on half the drives that you hit, there has a, what do they call the flags that they use? The
Extended
aiming
flags?
poles? Because they're hidden tee shots on half the holes that you have these aiming
Yeah.
poles in the fairways.
Where did I grow up?
They're-
Links Golf.
The hills on this course, I mean, it's like a putt-putt course where you go and you go, they got 2 windmills on a hole. It's a 2 windmill.
This course,
Golf course.
I love this course.
Are there like spots where you can kind of hit it into a hole on the far side of the fairway and have it trickle onto the green?
They have huge greens too, right?
Yeah, the greens are
massive.
huge. Just, I love that course.
It's an interesting course.
It's really, it's a lot of fun. I mean, you have to think your way around, which is why I love, growing up in links golf courses, I had to think what tee shot to hit, what iron off the tee. Yes, it's a second shot course because you have to get on the right plateau.
Yep.
But the greens are rolling 11 on a stem with the slope. It's literally
So
like glass.
I know you don't usually like to brag. You're a good golfer. Obviously, you're doing your first pro event. But any expectations you have for the first pro round?
None really.
None?
I just want to go out and
See where you stand.
enjoy tournament condition golf again because it's been a while since I've done tournament. It's been about
Okay.
7-8 months. So I just want to go out there and have some fun. And
Well, you won like club championship and stuff, right?
I won an amateur event, a club championship, which I was pretty happy with because I'm the guy I beat in the last round. He played in the mini tours for 10 years and made a living out of it. So he's a very decent golfer.
Very decent.
Very decent. English is not my strong language. But yeah, I mean, I've played in some tournaments in amateur level and finished in top 10s in some really good events. But those guys who are finishing up there are literally full-time golfers and just on the amateur circuit. They don't have a job. They have businesses and they just let everyone else do it. So they're really good golfers. So I was pretty happy the way I was conducting myself on the course.
All right. Well, we predict a very decent round.
Great. Thanks.
And I'll be there.
No pressure.
With a microphone. Post round.
Yeah, I'll see you
For your
there.
first one-on-one.
All right, this is where we end it. So, all right, we out, guys.
We out.
Bye.